What's going on, guys? Dr. Gonzo Boogie here again, back for another video, and this is going to be part one of, I think, a four-part series where I'm going to go through my entire DVD collection and try to give you guys the best overview I possibly can. And that's why I want to split it up into four videos. In part one, I was going to show you guys these the first row here, so that'll be this video, the part one video, and part two, I'll go through that row, part three, that row, and four, that row. So I got a lot of DVDs to go through, so I'm going to get started on this in just a second here. But this is going to be an ongoing theme that I'm going to be doing on my channel, where I actually eventually want to do a complete overview on my entire collection, and I figured I would start off with my DVD collection, and after I do the four-part DVD video, I was thinking of moving on to either showing you guys my entire Blu-ray collection, which I'll probably split up into random parts too, which continues over here into the Steelbooks. And then after I do the Blu-ray collection, I was thinking of doing all my VHS tapes, which I have one row of tapes down there and a double layered row of tapes there. And I also have a whole VHS shelf like around the corner over there. So that would be, so that's what I mean, like this is going to be a huge video series that I'm doing, where I'm going to do multiple parts with each chunk of my collection. So definitely let me know down in the comments what you guys want to see me do next, and eventually I want to get to like my action figures, maybe even do a video where I talk to you guys about my posters and my CDs. Just really, I wanted to give you guys an in-depth look at some of the cool stuff in my collection, because I've been collecting this stuff for years, and finally with this new camera here, I'll be able to show you guys the stuff that I have a lot better than I used to be able to. So real excited about this. So let me get going here, and I'm going to start off with the top row of my DVD shelf. And actually my DVD collection in some of you guys' eyes might be a little bit randomly organized. It's actually not in alphabetical order. I've never really liked doing it that way, because I feel like you split certain things up. Like, you know, I actually like to keep all my John Carpenter movies together and stuff like that. And when you're alphabetically organizing them, it's hard to do stuff like that, because, you know, a lot of movies don't have the same letters and they're not in the same order, stuff like that. You guys know what I'm saying. So actually my collection's sort of like randomly grouped together, sort of. I would say it's like a bit chronologically ordered. Like over here is all my classic horror stuff, like Universal Monsters, Hammer, and then it moves into the modern horror stuff, and that theme basically continues down. And I have certain things grouped together. Like I said, I have all my John Carpenter films together, all my Wes Craven movies together, and all my Italian horror movies together, but I tried to make the most sense of it as I could. So alright, I guess that's all you guys need to know. So let's get started at looking at the first row here. So right at the start here, I got the Munsters Season 1. I love this show. One of my favorite shows ever. This is the older release of the first season. This has been re-released a few times with different packaging artwork and stuff like that, but this has always been my favorite release of this. And I still have to pick up the second season. I used to have that on DVD, but the DVD got like kind of damaged. It was like a weird packaging on the old version of season 2. Alright, this is a Universal Monster box set thing that I have here. I picked this up used. I've showed it a few times, and one of the corners here was a little bit chewed up, but the rest of the box set is in really good condition, and this is sort of like a hard to find box set, so even though that is a little damaged, I was still real happy to find that one. I got some of the Universal Monster Legacy sets. The Dracula and Frankenstein one are the older releases. And then I have Mummy, Invisible Man, the Wolfman, and Creature on the new releases. And actually, I wouldn't mind updating my Dracula and Frankenstein to the newer releases. I almost sort of like the way that the newer releases look better, even though I grew up watching the older Legacy collection, so I sort of have like a little bit of nostalgia for those ones, so I might hold on to those ones anyway. Move on though, we got some more Universal Monsters stuff. I got some of the Abbott and Costello Meet the Monster films. I love those. And then the Universal Monster stuff kind of goes into Boris Karloff, of course. And Boris Karloff is one of my all-time favorite actors, so I've always been a huge fan of his work. Ever since I was a little kid, I've always loved Boris Karloff movies. Let me show you guys some of the highlights I got here. Definitely this Boris Karloff collection. It's actually pretty easy to find this collection now, and it goes for kind of cheap. Definitely worth picking up. This has some classic Universal horror movies that you can't find on any other set. Really cool stuff there. This is a cool, like, Karloff and Lugosi set. Comes with a few films. Frankenstein 1970 was a lot of fun. Good stuff there. Got this Olive Films release of Boris Karloff in The Cauldron of Blood. This is like a weird Italian pop type movie, you know what I mean? And it was pretty good, but just sort of weird. Just definitely one of Boris Karloff's weirder films. It's actually one of Boris Karloff's later films, Targets, and this is a really, really good film. Definitely worth checking out if you guys want to see an awesome Boris Karloff film. And then after that, I have some of the Val Lewton films, which had Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi in a few of those. And the Val Lewton films are really well done. One of the sets that I'm missing, which I wish I had, is the Cat People set, because Val Lewton directed the original Cat People, which was remade in the 80s, but Val Lewton's original is really good too. So that's worth checking out. But this is a cool set here. Got Boris Karloff and Isle of the Dead and Bedlam. Good stuff there. What do we got up here next? Leopard Man and the Ghost Ship. Ghost Ship was also remade. Good stuff. This comes with The Seventh Victim and Shadows in the Dark, a documentary about Val Lewton. And I think seeing that documentary on Turner Classic Movies around the time when these DVDs were released is what kind of introduced me into Val Lewton's films. He's actually a producer and not a director, but he had creative control over the films he made, and the films he made are just really well done and really good. Definitely worth reading into Val Lewton or watching that documentary on him if you guys like classic horror and you've never heard of him before. Dracula versus Frankenstein. This is garbage here. This is like a 70s film that is just like Lon Chaney Jr. is in it, sadly, and he just grunts his way through this film. It looks like he's very, very old in this movie. It's kind of almost sad seeing him like that. Yep, but actually after that goes into sort of like my Vincent Price films. I got a few Vincent Price films here. I got the two Fly movies, classics. House on Haunted Hill, which is my all-time favorite Vincent Price movie. House of Wax is pretty good too. I got some more classic horror here. This Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde 2-pack. Last time I checked, I think this was out of print, sort of hard to get. And actually, the 1932 version of Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde was actually directed by the same director who made The Wizard of Oz. And I don't hear a lot of people ever bring that up. And it's just really well done. The 1932 Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde is definitely worth checking out. Alright, so after the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde release, it goes into all my Hammer films. And I got a lot of Hammer films. One of my favorite movie production companies. Just everything Hammer did in the 50s, 60s, and early 70s was just classic. I love basically all the Hammer films, and these are most of the ones that I have on DVD. Actually, over here continues into the Hammer a little bit, but let's just take a look at a few of these ones first. Alright. So these are the Warner Brothers Snapper Case releases I got here. I got all the ones that they put out like this. Frankenstein, all three of the, they put out 2 of the Frankenstein films, 1 of the Mummy films, and 3 of the Draculas. That's one thing that's really confusing with Hammer. is here in the States, like each film was released by like a different production company, so that's one of the things that's really hard with the Hammer films, is just trying to find them all and collect them all. But that kind of adds to the almost like the treasure hunt of being a Hammer fan, trying to collect them all and see them all. It's kind of part of it in a way too. But I got this Hammer set here. Highly recommend this Hammer set. If you guys see this around, this got some classic stuff on it. Some of the best Hammer films ever are on this set. It's a 2-disc set, I think, if I remember. And you know, it's like they're double-sided discs and stuff like that. Just great films on that set. It's got the werewolf one with Oliver Reed in it, just to name one of them. Just a great set there. Alright, got another Hammer set here. This got some really good stuff on it too. One of the Mummy films is on this, so if you guys are trying to get all the Mummy films, I think this is the only way you can get the Curse of the Mummies Tomb on DVD. I think there's like a budget version of this set that has it on there too, but good stuff there. And then I got a bunch of the Anchor Bay Hammer releases, which I'll try to go through and show you guys a couple of these, because I don't want to go through all of them. This video is already starting to get 10 minutes long here, so let's just take a quick look at them. I got one of the 2-packs, Frankenstein Created Woman, and the Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires. That's a good one. Actually, that's like a kung fu vampire movie. Definitely worth checking out. Lots of fun there. Scars of Dracula, The Mummy Shroud, Blood from the Mummy's Tomb. I always really loved the DVD artwork on this. Good stuff there. Got Rasputin, the Mad Monk, the Reptile, Plague of the Zombies, Prehistoric Woman, the Abominable Snowman, Hands of the Ripper, and Twins of Evil are actually Synapse releases. I would really love to upgrade those ones to Blu-ray one day. Let's move on though. Got another Hammer pack. This is probably one of the easiest and cheapest ways to get Dracula Prince of Darkness, because the Anchor Bay copy of that is kind of hard to find and expensive. Let's see, Frankenstein and the Monsters from Hell. Last time I checked, this one was out of print and kind of hard to get to. A lot of the Hammer films are. Dracula AD 1972. Satanic Rites of Dracula is an Alpha Video edition, so I would love to get a better edition of this one day. Alright, but that's about it for the Hammer films. After Hammer, it starts to kind of just go into modern horror. I feel like Hammer was a good bridge between the classic horror and the modern horror. And the modern horror kind of starts with Spider Baby and Psycho. I love Spider Baby. Such a weird, interesting film. This also has Lon Chaney Jr. in it, in one of his last film roles, but it's a lot better than his role in Dracula vs. Frankenstein, or whatever it's called. Got this cool old copy of Psycho on DVD. I've always really liked this for some reason, even though it is an older DVD release. Then after that, moves into my George A. Romero collection, which is one of my favorite parts of my DVD collection, but I've done a ton of videos showing you guys my Romero stuff, so I don't want to go too in-depth on it, but I'll just show you guys some of my favorite stuff in the Romero collection. I love my 2 copies of Night of the Living Dead. They're both released by Elite Entertainment, one of my favorite DVD releasing companies. Really good stuff here. And this is probably my favorite release, of course. This is the Millennium Edition of the original George A. Romero classic in a red case. This is probably the best way you can get Night of the Living Dead over here in the US right now, in my opinion, even though there is a few Blu-ray releases of that and there were a few DVD releases after this. I think this is still the best way to get Night of the Living Dead until it gets a really good Blu-ray release over here. I got a few different copies of Dawn of the Dead. I'll show you guys some of the older ones here. This is like a really old copy where the film is like split up on 2 different sides of the disc, old school style. This is like the U.S. theatrical cut of the movie, which I think is the definitive cut of Dawn of the Dead. To check out the U.S. theatrical cut of the movie, I think is the best version. But also the Dario Argento Italian cut of the film is worth checking out too if you're a big enough fan of the movie. Dawn of the Dead, I think, is one of the best horror movies ever made, and in my opinion, the best zombie movie ever made, and there'll never be a zombie movie that tops that one. This is the Dawn of the Dead box set, the Ultimate Edition. I don't really want to open this up just because I don't want to mess with it right now. But this is a great box set. One of my favorite things in my collection. It's out of print and really hard to find, and just one of the gems in my collection. I just love this thing. I got this older copy of Day of the Dead. For some reason, I've always really liked this. I'm not sure why, but this has always been one of my favorite Anchor Bay DVDs in my collection. I just like how weird it looks. It almost reminds me of like a VHS, the way the artwork is. Just a really old looking DVD. I sometimes like stuff like that. Alright, so my Romero continues over into Creepshow. I got this pretty cool Anchor Bay copy of Creepshow 2. I think this one is kind of hard to find. This is like the comic book cover special edition of it. Really cool stuff there. And then that's it for the Romero, and then it starts on my Wes Craven stuff, which starts with The Last House on the Left, which is one of my favorite Wes Craven movies, but my favorite Wes Craven movie is probably The Hills Have Eyes. This is the awesome Anchor Bay 2-disc edition, which, in my opinion, was the best edition of The Hills Have Eyes to pick up before Arrow put out their box set, which definitely topped it. Love that Hills Have Eyes box set. Alright, Hills Have Eyes 2, which I actually like. I mean, it's not that good of a movie, not even close to as good as the first one, but I like the first Hills Have Eyes so much. I actually sort of like that one. I got Swamp Thing Shocker, the Nightmare on Elm Street box set, the classic DVD box set, which I'm sure you guys have seen a billion times. I got this copy of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This is like the 4-disc Blu-ray DVD set. I was a little disappointed that this was like the size of a DVD case, because at the time this came out, you would have thought they would have made it the size of a Blu-ray case. I don't know if they did, but that's the only copy of it that I ever saw. And then I got some more of my like Tobe Hooper films after the Wes Craven stuff. So yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1, 2, 3, Next Generation, which is garbage film, Eaten Alive, which is pretty good. I actually sort of like that one. Funhouse, and then Poltergeist, which this is actually probably my favorite Tobe Hooper film. This was produced by Steven Spielberg. It's just a really well done movie. A lot of fun there too. It's got the Steven Spielberg seal of quality on it too. It's just a really nice looking movie. And then last for this shelf is the 3 Exorcist movies, which I have older DVD editions of. This is like probably the oldest like Exorcist DVD you can get. Then I got the second one, which is a complete garbage movie, and Exorcist 3, which is okay. I've never been actually too big of a fan of that movie. I've only been able to sit through it once, and I remember sort of being bored getting through that. That's The Exorcist is another one of those film series, kind of like the Blair Witch series, that just really didn't need sequels. The first one is just so good that you're just not going to top it, and you're not going to match its charm. It was just done so well the first time. You just don't really need sequels and stuff like that. But you guys know all about that. But alright, so that was the first row in my DVD collection. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely give it a thumbs up or leave a comment if you did. And next up, I'll be going through the second row of my DVD shelf. And definitely let me know in the comments too what you guys want to see me go through next. Either my VHSs or my Blu-rays or my action figures. Let me know in the comments and I'll try to make that happen. Alright, see you guys later.